I am back with Brian Nugent again, my advisor for all things Irish historical, religious,
Yeah,
paranormal,
yeah,
and everything except anything that might be sinful. He's not. He's not my. He's not my go-to person for anything in that field whatsoever. I have
yeah.
other guys from that.
All right,
Brian,
yeah.
it's great to see you. We haven't done a little bit of a live chat or YouTube in the longest time. How has everything been with you?
Well, okay, yeah, yeah. I'm working away in lots of things, so I'm busy anyway.
You were telling me earlier that you did um, an interview there with Niall, and seeing that it might be fresh on your mind, let's go back and talk about the Tomb babies case, etc. Now, I point out to everybody that you have written a book on this. We are what? We're nearly 2 years into this dig or exploration or whatever, where perhaps, in my opinion anyway, the objective
Yeah,
of the dig was to come up and find evidence of some horrendous atrocity. But it seems as if they have not found anything at all. Can you give us a little bit of an update on what's happening down there in Shum?
yes. Well, obviously, is so you have the they call it the director of intervention or something like that. CHUM. It's ODIAIT. I think is the name of the. It's a person that's in charge of it, and then they have an organization, and so they've started off on the area. They've started off anyway. They have found children in. Coffins, both mounted and unmounted. Mounted means that there's a crucifix placed on the coffin, and they're painted white, and that's all they've discovered so far. And of course, that's not a surprise because the entire history of the Tomb home, there's enormous, much mention of coffins. You have advertisements for coffins. You have traditions about local people in the town making coffins. So you have traditions about the caretaker making coffins and all the rest of it. So it never comes as a surprise to me anyway, but it seems to have come as a surprise to a lot of other people. And they didn't expect to find that A, that they would be buried in coffins, and B, that it would be a recognized burial ground. You see, they've kind of disguised all this up to date, but now they've kind of admitted that there are maps and it's written there as a burial ground. Of course it is. It's the graveyard of the Tuam Children's Home, and everybody knew it was the graveyard of the Tuam Children's Home. Both the nuns knew it. They wrote a letter back saying that this is where a person is likely to be buried in the graveyard of the home. You have the church knew it because they used to do cemetery Sundays and all that there. You have the council knew it, as I say, it's on their maps and there's various other references to it. And the local people knew about it. For example, Father Churchill. He's a priest in the Diocese of Dublin, and his father was brought up in the home. And he said that over the years, they used to visit the graveyard, the people that used to be in the home. There was kind of their, communal graveyard of their community, if you want to put it like that. And they knew all about it, and there was never any debate about it. So it was never. It's all really a hoax. I mean, it's all a false yarn anyway. So
Okay, but so to summarize there, it's as simple as this. Anything that they have found thus far shows that these babies were buried in coffins. Some of them were mounted with crosses, at both expense and time, and presumably then also with proper prayers and ceremony. And there was no such thing as just dumping a dead baby.
no, I believe they were all buried properly. Now there is some traditions about funerals at the home. There was actually a guy who I think originally came from Westmeath, but I think he must have got to college in Galway, and his teacher, I think it was for Christopher religion class or whatever, it happened to have been earlier a chaplain to the Tuam Children's Home, and he described how they used to do the funerals there. It was very sad because this infant died or whatever. So we do have some traditions about. We have, I think, some locals also witnessed funerals at the home, and so we have that. And anyway, but just to clarify how it would have happened, in my opinion, there are two types of burial at the home. Some were buried in coffins, etc., as I said, mounted and unmounted. Some were not, and I'm not entirely sure what the difference is. The ones that were not are buried in shrouds. in an area that's you might call a crypt. Now, the phenomenon here you have to also recognize is that funerals, as far as I know, are not all that common for children under the age of reason in those years in question, 20s, 30s, 40s. Why? Because a funeral at that time is very widely seen as the reason why you have a funeral is to pray for the deceased person so that they'll go to heaven, or if they go to purgatory, it speeds them on their way through purgatory. People have forgotten that. But if you're beneath the age of reason, you don't need a funeral. And a lot of them didn't, I don't think. That would be universal all throughout the church, including in Ireland. You know, if your sister died under the age of one, it's not necessarily the case they ever had a funeral. And they might just go and put them in a coffin and put them in a car and bury them. Believe it or not, I've heard stories from people telling me that that's just what happens. There was no funeral, so some of the time anyway there wouldn't be a funeral, and in those circumstances, I believe anyway they took the corpse and wrapped it in a shawl and placed it in these crypts. So you get both crypts and you get burials in coffins. You get both times.
Okay, so the baby would be buried with dignity, but without any procession or without anything at all. That just
Yeah,
with dignity, say the prayers or whatever, and that is
yeah.
it. I have believed with this Joom situation from day one that it was just one more effort to discredit the church. Is all this hullabaloo? If I hate to use the word hullabaloo when we're dealing with a serious subject, but all this is down to one lady called Corliss or whatever. She's the only one that was pushing this narrative from day one. Where did she come out of, and what gave her the the authority to speak on this and credibility, or what gave her just the
Well,
who was she?
I think the truth of Ireland over the last many decades is that if you disparage the church, you're going to be lionized in the media. You know, you're a hero as soon as you're disparaging the church. I'm sorry to say that, but I think it's realistically the case. If you come out tomorrow and you accuse nuns or whatever, you're always going to be a hero in the Irish media and in Irish academia to a very large extent. You know, but also you know it wouldn't be fair to say it's just her in the sense that there is a group around her. Many people mightn't know very much about them, but there's, I think it's Anna Corrigan, and then you have Ashton O'Reilly, who broadcasted first as a journalist. I mean, in some respects, Catherine Corliss is the visible face of maybe a larger, more mysterious thing that's been going on. So, for example, one of the things that I wanted to highlight recently from the very beginning, I've been trying to tell people I've very unfortunately for good or for ill, I have very great experience of Irish historical research. I've been doing it for donkey's years, and I know all different aspects. And the story that came out originally from with Catherine Corliss was that she went to the registry office and she got copies of 796 death certificates of people who died in the home. Now, I happen to know that if you go to the registry office and you go looking for 796 deaths of people who died in a particular spot, you cannot do it. It's impossible. Their indexes, you check the indexes, and that's how you find death certificates and whatever. And they're not indexed by place of death. You simply can't do that. You can't go looking, you know, Tune Children's Home, who died there, and go to these records. Totally impossible. In my opinion, always been impossible. So I've always known that, and I wondered how that happened. Now, the interesting thing is, there's a reference to 2012. Now, this story breaks about March or April 2014. There's a specific reference from 2012 that within the system, within I think it's the HSE, they were compiling a database of all the people who died in the Tuam home. Now that's confirmed in the finished commission report, in case people want to read it. Under the Tuam, I think it's paragraph 15.5 or something in the Tuam chapter. There is such a database. The HSE was drawing